Hello, my name is Martina Niklis and I'm from Germany, and you are watching an experiment with the name Diving to the Point. And I want to explain how that came that I started this experiment. I was asking my whole life questions. As a child in school, I was asking questions because it led to better grades, because the teachers liked that asking questions and they thought I'm interested. When I was a grown up, mm, it was so that asking questions, it was like I felt like being a part of a group that I wanted to be in. For me, it felt like to be connected to the group when I was asking. And when I was adult, I went on with asking, and I it was like I was using people like a radio. I was asking and was not really listening what they were answering. So this is an experiment about asking and answering and talking, and at the same time really listening, really connecting, and see if it's possible to, yeah, to connect with someone and dive deeper to the reasons that lie beneath that first answer, for example. My first interview partner is Anna Harrison, and I'm very thankful and glad that she said yes when I asked her, "Do you want to start that interview with me?" Uh, Hello, Anna.
Hello, Martina.
Anna, I we were talking about preparing that interview, and there was a misunderstanding because you thought you sent me some questions and some things that are interesting for you, and these points didn't reach me, so I couldn't read them. So for me the answer was, okay, we just jump into that conversation without any preparation, and here we are. And for me that means that the fear level is quite high because there is no control and no knowing what will happen. How is that for you?
I I'm fine with this because I think you asked the question, so I don't need to know anything in advance.
Yes. And the second point, what perhaps we have to explain, is that we are both German native speaking. So English is not our normal language that we talk. For me, that means that it's unknown territory. It's something that makes the fear rise higher because I cannot express that good in English. And Anna, do you want to tell a little bit about where you live and how it is for you to make this conversation in English? I think you lived in a foreign country for some time. Would you like to tell something about that? living in
Yeah.
language?
I grew up in Stuttgart in the south of Germany, and my parents were in the beginning only talking German with me. My mother is native English speaking,
Hmm.
and later she had English as a secret language with my older brother. So English was always a bit interesting, and I was like, oh, it's good to know that, to get all the secrets they're trying to not tell me. And when we were visiting a friend of my mother in England, I was 9 then. Um, I remember the moment where someone said, "This is a cucumber," and I was like, "Nein, das ist eine Gurke." And then I thought, that's English, cucumber. And since then, somehow English is just part of my life. And yeah, yeah, it's not perfect. And I do feel very comfortable with the language. Yeah. And right now I'm living in Potsdam with my little daughter in the house of my uncle. And I'm studying and working and being a mother. Yeah.
Hmm. You said that this English language was, when you heard that the first time, it was a secret language between your mother and your elder brother. And I was wondering what what that secret was. Was it a secret that you wanted to explore, that you wanted to dive in, or was it something that you felt like being out of a circle, or out of a connection, or out of something that you couldn't reach because you couldn't speak that language? Do you know what I mean?
Mm. And for me, it was more something exciting. It was like the things they said in English were things that I'm not supposed to know or something. So like, where's the chocolate? And where like can I do something that I was not allowed to do? So for me, it was more sort of like a riddle to try to get it, or to guess. Also, if I didn't know the words, I didn't feel excluded. So it was more really like a, okay, what? So I was trying with my fantasy to guess what they were saying.
Oh, okay, yeah, interesting. So because right now I didn't understand the word riddle. What is a riddle? Can you explain that in English?
A riddle is a description of something where you have to know what it is without me saying the word.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like playful. So, and also what you said sounded for me as a child, it was something, yeah, like a game, something interesting, like a mystery that you wanted to know more about.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And now you're talking English to me, and you also talk German. And how is this for you? Because for me it's difficult to really say to the point what I want to say. And I'm interested to find out what the connection between two people is, if the conversation is imperfect, if it's not every word can be understood. And is there a difference for you when you talk to somebody in English or in German? What makes the connection to another person?
The language doesn't make a big difference for me. Sometimes I even don't know if the conversation with someone was in English or in German, or a film that I watched. Sometimes I just, yeah, I have the feeling I have a feeling for English and a feeling for German, and I lack a lot of words in English, but this is not really something that stops me. It's more something that gives me a mirror for me to say what is important in the words that I have. So it it's more sort of okay if I miss außergewöhnlich, so extraordinary. If I like I think like I want to say something and I want to say that was very special, and then I just look for words that could describe it. And as we said in a talk before, my language often is very I have pictures or feelings or sometimes yeah often I could draw what I think or what I feel, and and then the word itself doesn't really matter because it's more the image that I'm like it's like painting a giraffe in with a blue pencil and one with a red pencil. It is different and it's still a giraffe. And you
So
asked
yeah,
yeah you asked about the connection.
yeah.
And I think for me it's it's a sense of curiosity and space. Like if someone asks a question without wanting it to know, there's no space where the answer can land. It's like yeah, it's like giving a book that's already written to someone and say something, write something in there, and you go like, yeah, but there's a whole story in there that yeah, and or you give someone an empty page and say, please, would you write something on that page? And this is
Mhm.
and the white page for me is connection. It's like open for what comes and having the space for it. And and yeah, and picture comes from me. It's not mine, but there's a German yeah, in that story, it was a German man traveling to Asia to one of the Zen masters,
Mhm.
and he said, "Okay, I don't know how long I'm going to live, but I need to know what life is about. So, would you take time and tell me?" And the Zen master said, "Well, come in. We're going to have a cup of tea." And he was like, "Yes, but I've come the whole way and I really want to know. So, please, uh, yeah, please come to the point. It's really important. It's urgent for me. I need to know what life is about." And the Zen masters, "Please come and have a cup of tea." And then someone came and served 2 cups, and they were empty. And the Zen master filled one, and then he filled the second one, and he didn't stop. And the German guy was like, hey, the tea's pouring all over the place. What are you doing? This is not. And he said, yes, this is what's going to happen if I keep talking. You're like a full
Mm.
cup. You came to me, and there's no space where I can pour my tea in. So I think connection is a lot about space.
Oh, what a great story. Thank you for telling that. I like that very much. And it I feel that I I think that it helps me right now to relax because I had this fear of okay, what asking the right questions, saying the right things, try to be perfect, and now it's is this idea of just drink a cup of tea together and have the space together, and I like that very much.
Yeah.
And there was something else that you said that made me um, that I found very interesting, and perhaps it could be something it would be worth to try out because you said um, having a conversation. What you if I understood you right, you said that what you are saying, you could also draw as a picture. So the words could also be a picture. And I was wondering if it could be possible to have a conversation with somebody without words, without any words, and drawing pictures instead, having paper and colors and pencils, and just draw pictures and show them to the other person and see what's happening then. If it's possible to really have a concrete conversation without talking. What do you think about that? Do you know what I mean?
And I have a question. What is a concrete conversation? Like,
Hmm.
what is conversation?
Yeah, for me, yeah, good question. I was grown up in the Western culture in Germany. I went to school, I studied, I was married. And if you had asked me that question 2 years ago, I would have said point ABC, question ABC, answer ABC. Also it must be very concrete and clear, and the clearer it is, the better the conversation is. But now my life is completely turned around 360 degrees, and I don't know how to answer that question. Perhaps I would say it's a space, and if it's a space, it cannot be concrete. What do you think? What is a good convers? Or what is a conversation? What is it for you? A good is a good and a bad conversation. What is a conversation?
I think for me, since I'm 13-year-old, I'm dancing tango argentino. And this is a conversation for me, dancing. And it's a lot about it's about being there and embracing a space where someone else can be in too. And in the dancing, I really like that the hands actually creating a circle. It's not round, but you're touching the hands and the shoulder and the back. And in total, it makes a whole circle. And to communicate in dancing over the hands, you want to, your information comes from resistance or from pulling or from pushing with the hands, and you want to reach the toes. So the whole body has to take part in the conversation somehow, because otherwise it's not working. And to put it in another way, I think a conversation is something, for me, a conversation is something where I want to put something in front of or to another person, and or I want to know that something. Like if I ask a question, I usually don't put something in the space, but it's more sort of a pulling, a, a need for something.
Mm.
And it's, for me, a lot of times a lot easier directing it to just one person. Like having a conversation with 3 people
Mhm.
makes a big difference for me, or for or a group, or then just 2. And somehow with two, they're like forces also in the conversation about who's talking how much, how loud, how close are the bodies to each other. And then there's so many layers, like can you smell the other person?
Mm.
Can you be physically near to them? Are you emotionally near to them? And all of them are part of the conversation. Yeah. Yeah, and thinking of it, I want to add that I have the feeling that I've been communicating with my daughter since she's very, very little,
Mhm.
like some days after the birth, and I had the feeling that we understand each other, and there are no words, because
Mhm.
yeah, it's more sort of a something of myself is touching something of the other self or the other being, and and then they don't melt, but they go somehow together.
I I would like to talk more about that tango dancing, and it's like you are opening a complete new world with that picture, with throwing that in. And I cannot dance. I cannot dance tango. And what I've seen in films when I was watching people dancing tango, and I once had the possibility to talk to a tango dancer in Buenos Aires last year. I met him and I asked him what is tango, and he said tango is intimacy. For the time when the music plays, you are you have this intimacy, and when the music stops playing, it's it's finished and you go apart, and that is it, ready. And I thought, wow, what a big picture for a connection between two people. What a great picture. And I like that very much. I I'm interested to hear more about when you are in the space of dancing tango, what is this thing? How does it feel? You are a woman. Are you a woman?
Yes,
Why do you say yes?
because I am a woman. I love being a woman. I was pregnant. Yes,
Yeah,
this is all for me being a woman.
yeah. Is there a difference between dancing tango as a woman and dancing tango as a man?
Yes, and I can just tell you about my difference, that when I was teaching, I was also leading. And
Teaching tango, you mean?
yeah,
Okay. Uh-huh.
um and the main difference is maybe just the direction. In the in the room where there's the tango party, you kind of have a dance direction, so everybody should move in the circle, like circle wise in one direction,
Mm-hmm.
and the man is going forward and the woman is going backward. And that doesn't mean everything is linear, but there is sort of a way so you don't bump into the people.
Yeah.
And the man is the one who's looking out for where's space for us, where can we do some turns, some big movements, where's good to do little movements. And yeah, and so the man is doing like the navigating part is up to the men, and it also makes a difference if I'm closing my eyes or not.
As a woman.
hmm So I'm mainly going backwards, so I don't really need my eyes, and I'm not so tall. So a lot of men are taller, so I anyway don't really see a lot because I'm
Uh,
facing their shoulders.
okay. Yeah.
And so it depends also on the height of the men. Sometimes my whole upper body is really like in front of his chest. And sometimes when I'm tall enough or he's little enough or I'm wearing my high heels, then our faces are kind of next to each other, depending the size. And then when we do fast and big movements, I also usually open my eyes to help us turning and keep navigating. But yeah, the main difference for me is being the one who needs to look out in the space or not. So this is for me the difference between the situation who is leading and who is following.
So when you, yeah, what?
Yes, and there's so much more than only these. So this is only the navigating through the space. And then you have the music. Usually there are several of instruments in the tango music.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, you can decide without no giving saying anything to the partner to decide one instrument, and then you can move more like the violin does or the bandoneon, or
Wow.
you can give more resistance so the whole movement slows down because otherwise you would need too much pressure, and you can speed up, sort of go a bit like, yeah, just more on your tiptoes so the other one knows we could move very fast. So the dynamic is um, the juicy dynamic comes from both. Yeah, I wanted to add this because it otherwise feels like you're driving a car and you can just
Mm.
circle it around, but that's not what, there's much more.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Pooh. I didn't know that. That's so. So those two. Does the for example, when they dance with listening to the uh, guitar, for example, who makes that decision? Do they, I think I propose that I assume that they do not talk about that before. Hello, my name is Camelia. Should we listen to dance to the guitar sound or to the, I think it's not that what's happening.
No,
But how does that work, that conversation without talking about it?
it just happens, and either it fits or it doesn't. It's maybe like when you sing and when you have the feeling everybody knows the tune, you can just start making up a second voice.
Mhm.
And sometimes everybody goes like, "Huh? What are you doing?" And sometimes they go like, "Oh, wow, yes, this feels good." And someone else starts then with another beat. So it's really more, yeah, the aim is not to tip something over. The aim is more to just bring color to, or a playfulness in that case. And it's not so important for the other one to know what you're doing. It's more important if it feels good for the togetherness.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to hear more about you feeling like a woman, or yeah, what has tango And you feeling like feeling to be a woman, what has that to do? Is there a, do those parts of your life have something to do with each other? Tango and being a woman. Did it change something? Do you want to tell more about that feeling? No, it's not a feeling, but about that being a woman and dancing tango.
Yes, and there's a third thing that comes in my mind, and that's the pregnancy.
Yeah.
And yeah, since so dancing, movement, and circus have been in my life since I'm 4 years old. And I usually organized it myself, and then yeah, my mother helped me arrange and creating circus groups and whatever. And when I was 8 years old, I invited like I think in total we were 8 children from school and from our house, and I put them all together and we put up a cloth in the garden over the washing line that was our fence, and then we created 2 days a show and then showed it to the people from the parents and the house and the people in the street. And I was kind of the organizer for that. And I know the moment when I said, okay, let's do some high pyramids, like more than two people on top of each other. Um, and then I thought, maybe it's a good idea to find out who is strong and who's heavy and who's light. So we have kind of the heavy people on the bottom, and then it goes up to the lighter thing. And this was something in my head that this is how it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And I was I was too heavy for my sense of feeling, and I was one of the strongest. So I never got the chance to go up on the pyramids because otherwise they would all crumble when there was nobody else in the middle, so stable.
Yes.
And I remember that this was something that this just really makes me want to cry right now, because I decided that my body is awful, that my body is too heavy. I was never a big person, but I was always walking around being a heavy person. And I always had my body as my enemy since then. My body was not what I wanted it to be. And somehow I remember only three things where it changed. And one thing is swimming, and more sort of a floating, having the feeling that the weight of the body doesn't count. One was dancing, and one was being pregnant. And you ask about the tango, and somehow, not very often, but sometimes with some men, dancing with some men, it feels like flying. When gravity is not really there, and the two bodies, they're either in their own balance, or they're like tipping a bit towards each other, having less, you have less weight on your own feet because you also have weight chest on chest. And when the information just comes from your fingertips to your toes, and the rest of the body is just in between, it's so effortless. It's so, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it's really like when the music ends, the universe of that moment ends, and I come back and I go like, okay, here's my body, here's me, here's gravity again. There's sort of a,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, and ending the picture with the pregnancy. I was so impressed of what my body could do, grow another being, and and like the last 6 months, I loved my body. It was the only period in my time where I was so happy putting on weight, and and usually my belly and my legs, they were like, oh, this is really not what I want. And in this moment, especially, my belly was like, oh, this is so incredible. There's someone in there, and she was kicking so hard that other people could feel and see it. And yeah, and that was a period in my life where I really was like, wow, my body is so beautiful. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I can maybe even make an arc to the beginning. I think a good conversation starts with a yes. I like in the pregnancy, I had a yes for my body. And this conversation I had during the pregnancy with my body was really a different one. And it was a yes conversation.
It was a yes conversation with your body, and it was perhaps also a yes conversation with Gwendolyn, with that child.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh, how is it today?
Well, the easiest part is I still have a big yes for my daughter and for being a mother.
Mm.
If someone wants to have advertising about being a mother, please ask me. I there's so many things. Yeah, one morning Gwendolyn woke up and she had sort of sand and like little, not tears, but from mourning. And she said, Mama, my eyes sad. And yeah, she just knows so many things already, and she always had known.
Mm.
It's so one time it didn't work and she was screaming around, and I said, you can ask for help if you want to. And she said, help? Nein, ich angry. And I was, yeah, great, you're just angry. And yeah, yeah. And it's so much fun discovering the world with her. Now she's starting to talk. There's so much I can discover what she puts together. It's like, wow, how did you figure that out? I think I never told you. It's just we have that. And with my body, I'm having an experiment with a beautiful woman that we're reporting every day about what's happening with our body, like sort of a body awareness. And that's very helpful for me. And and I had a nice experience like 2 weeks ago in a workshop about um, it's called Lustvoll. And this would be pleasurable, maybe
Mhm.
something. And and I was lying on the floor, and someone marked with a pen around the Umriss, the frame. No, what
Mm.
is it called?
Contour? I don't know. I don't only know the German word.
Yeah. So
The
yeah,
I
it looked
think frame is a good word, perhaps.
yeah, but yeah, doesn't matter. So in the end, I was lying down and she painted around my body. And then when I stood up, I saw my body lying on the floor, kind of.
Yeah.
Um, and I really got that impression, like, wow, that's actually quite beautiful. And then I took another color and draw my body how I see it. And I have that in my study room. And it's very interesting because it's not, yeah, I painted it on a lot of parts, a lot bigger. I have red, big shoulders that I need to protect me from life and from men. And my thighs, I painted very, very big because I think that they are very big. And somehow I also need them so big to be really standing and that nothing is tipping me over. Yeah. And that's very interesting to see how different my perception of my body is to reality, and have both of them on one picture.
Mm. Mm. What you told about that meeting every day with that woman and talking about what your body is feeling like, or what do you talk about and how do you connect?
So there's no what we talk about, there's more like what we notice during the day in our physical body. Like for me, a lot of awareness work that I'm doing is more the emotional or intellectual body. And she came up with a nice sentence that I find very helpful is, what does my body want right now?
Mm.
Like I'm waiting for someone to ring, and I go like, I'm nervous. And then if I can't tidy up or something, then I go like, yeah, maybe I can just eat something.
Mm.
And then when I ask my physical body, it says, no, I'm not hungry. So yeah, so the question, what does my body want, is really, yeah. And also the big fight that I have about how my body should be and how it is, and there's so much energy, it's so draining, it's really like it's just like an ongoing, it's ongoing energy into a pat situation. So I will never look like,
What do you mean with PAT situation?
yeah, because it's unconscious,
Yeah.
and it's not like, and somehow it's not really something to get somewhere.
Mm.
So it's more sort of a child. No, this is me, me, me. This is not good. Me, me, me.
Mm.
And it's there, and it's
Mm.
draining.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I want curly hair. So, okay, so I can go to the hairdresser, get a perm, or I don't.
Mm.
But I can't I can't go like, okay, now I have curls. So what's my purpose in keeping this topic in my head?
And you also mentioned those different bodies, the physical, the emotional, the energetic body, the intellectual body. And I think in our culture there is this intellectual body very strong and making the decisions, or we think it should be so. And in this conversation with the woman, where you talk about what sensations you had in your body and what happened and what you felt or what you noticed, Is it only about the physical body?
No,
Mm.
definitely not. And it's the main focus. But like, yeah, there's a lot of emotions connected to my
Yeah.
physical body. So they're also welcome. But the starting point kind of is what was today with my physical body? Like, what did I do for it? Like, maybe I did my training in the morning or stretching, or I cooked myself something nice, or I went running, or I had a nap. So they're all physical body um, needs, I would say. And like working for 8 hours is definitely not a body like in a office.
Mm.
The body awareness, I would generously say, is very low or even zero.
Mm.
So the body is just sitting there. Maybe you go to the toilet and drink, and maybe sometimes you're hungry, so you eat. But this is not an awareness. This is more sort of an don't stop me from work. Okay, I give you something to eat, but the main focus is intellectual.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And what is the mm, the feeling when we talk about those four feelings: sadness, fear, anger, and gladness,
Joy. Yeah.
joy? Yes. What of those four feeling is the one that is the most connected to your physical body? Perhaps this is not a question that you can answer with your intellectual part.
I think it's a mixture of anger and fear. The anger is more graspable and the fear is bigger. And you ask for one, so maybe I would go then with fear.
You want to tell more about that?
I feel like I'm inhaling and I stop breathing. It's sort of a wish to be alive and not taking space. A wish to take part on this game that we're playing here on Earth and not needing anything. And then I'm here. I do need water. I do need to eat. I need space. I need a place to sleep. And my fear is sort of it keeps me small.
What what is this fear about? What are you afraid of in that moment when you take space, or when it's about to take space?
I feel fear taking something away from other people. Like the apple I eat, you can't have. The air I swallow is swallowed. It's it's kind of a yeah. Somehow it's a big story of scarcity
Mm.
and and everything I need or I use is used up. And then my fear says, okay, so if you need to be alive, what's your payback? Like what what does someone, let's say Hannelore, has from you being alive? Maybe she would prefer to just eat 2 more apples a day. Yeah, a fear of needing something.
Is it about responsibility? Take the responsibility for being being alive and eating that apple.
Yes, I think I've never taken the responsibility. I think hearing you say that, I remember that in my mum's belly, it was a problem. It was at least a surprise and a like, how is this possible that I'm there now? And part of me wanted to just stay a fetus, an embryo, and yeah, yeah, and I couldn't stop from growing. And I think that's my old decision that I won't kill myself and I won't grow. I won't I won't unfold my potential.
And did it work? Were you successful?
Hmm. Yes. Yes, and I even turned it into a story that is impressive. Like I lived for 3 years in a caravan without water, and in the beginning we didn't have electricity, and it was sort of an almost a contest showing the world that I can live with almost nothing. And it's surviving. It's not living.
And for you, it had to do something with that not eating that apple that somebody else wants to eat?
Yeah, for me, the city has a lot of scarcity elements. Like there are not enough, there's not enough. And being a lot in the nature is for me so generous. Like when you see an apple tree blossoming, it's like, wow. And then so many apples. And this was somehow for me different when I was like eating apples that wouldn't have never been picked because no one takes care of the apple trees in the countries, or like there are plenty of apple trees
Yeah.
in Brandenburg that nobody's looking after.
Mhm.
And I was growing a lot of vegetables by myself. And that was also amazing to see, like out of one One pumpkin makes so many seeds, and then out of one pumpkin seed comes a plant, and there's so many pumpkins. We had, I don't know, and zucchinis. I was, yeah. I started to be very creative what to do with zucchinis because we had like a zucchini flood, and there were just 3 plants, and
Yes.
yeah. So this was something for me. It's also, if I don't take it away from someone else, it makes a difference for me.
Thank you for yeah, making this distinction, what that means for you. And there were so many things that I didn't know about you. And for me, the result is that I want to know even more about you. I didn't know that you are a dancer. I didn't know that I knew that you are a sports woman, that you have to do lots with sports, but tango is I didn't know that. I'm really astonished that you do that because tango is so amazing for me. And I also didn't know that you had a zucchini flood. No, no. I also didn't know that you were living in a without in on the countryside without electricity and traveling, and I didn't know that. There are so many things, and I'm so grateful that you were telling this. I have one last question, and um, this is about Gwendolyn, your daughter. I think is she 2 years old now?
Yeah.
She's two, and I would like to know, I'm interested because I'm also a mother. My two children are grown up now, and but I would like to know what is what do you what do you wish for her, or what are your fears when you think about her growing up in this world, and what is your commitment as a mother?
Hmm. So what I wish for Gwendolyn is that she learns to trust herself, to show up in life and to deal with what's coming, and that she feels, yeah, self trust in dealing with the not knowing. And what I fear for her or about the whole situation is I have the feeling I failed staying together with her father. He left us. And a year later, he broke up the contact with her, and that she will, yeah, she doesn't really know her father. And it's my fear that she's missing him and that she'll blame me for it and everything. And I feel sad for her because I would love her to have the the heile Welt, just the unbroken love relationship of two parents, and two parents loving their daughter,
Mm.
and siblings coming the way, yeah, that she would have already siblings by now. um yeah, and it's not. Yeah.
Thank you, Anna. I'm I'm really, really thankful that we could talk and drink that cup of tea together. And
Yeah.
thank you for that great picture. I think I take that with me for the next interviews, and because for me it also has to do something with not talking into gaps between sentences and not mm, be okay with nobody is talking. Be okay with okay, how does it go on? What is the next question? Be okay with coming sadness coming up or fear coming up, and be okay with fear is there the whole time, because I still have this fear in the yeah. Do you want to say something before I stop that recording?
No, thank you for the time and the questions. I enjoyed the journey. Yeah.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Martina.